Hello, everybody. Good evening. Happy Friday. My name is Morgan, and just a reminder, when you guys start coming in, just make sure to leave a message in the chat box and say hello. Okay, so it is Friday night, and what better to do on a Friday night than talk about online dating? Now, I don't know about you guys, but I have never tried online dating. I've never tried any form of online dating actually at all. So if you have any experience in this area, feel free to write me about them because I'd love to hear about it. Okay. So, hi, Antonio. Tony, sorry. All right, you guys. So I hope everyone is having a good evening. I hope we're all ready to relax, enjoy our Friday evening, maybe have a drink, cook dinner, but all of that after our lesson today. Okay. Hi, Eliza. All right. Hello, hello. Oh, good. So many of you. Makes me happy. I thought you guys would be too busy to come into a class on Friday night, but I'm happy to see we have the most people coming to a class that I have had all week. So I'm excited. Oh no. But Antonio, how are you being stood up? We're still quarantined. Did you get stood up on an online date? Maybe it was just her Wi-Fi, no Wi-Fi. All right, you guys. So today we are going to be talking about online dating. Again, I have never tried it. I've never tried it. So maybe you guys can share your experiences if you are an active online dater. Okay, or maybe if you've just tried it once or twice. So in this class, we're going to practice our dating vocabulary. We're going to practice some really, really terrible icebreakers. And we are going to do a little bit of writing. Okay. So let's begin. I'm so excited to see how many people there are today. All right. We're going to dive right into our dating history. And I'm going to ask you guys to answer a few questions. So, our first question: have you ever been on a blind date? Now, we can talk about what is a blind date? Let's start there. A blind date. Does that mean that my date can't see? I don't think so, right? No. So a blind date would be a date where you have never met the person before. For example, I went on a blind date. My friend met someone and thought that we would be a good match. So she said, Morgan, you should go out with this person. Okay, exactly. A date where you don't know the person, a blind date. So tell me, have you guys ever been on a blind date before? So I have. I have been on one blind date. So send me in your writing. We're going to go on to the next one. And I want to know, what is the best first date you've ever had? Now, I've had some pretty good dates, but I think the best first date, well, I'm in a relationship now, so I should probably tell you my best first date was, he picked me up and we went to a museum late at night and we had the night tour. And then afterwards we walked around We walked around Villa Borghese playing a drinking game with all of the statues of the heads. It sounds like a really silly date, but it was silly. And I think that's why it was the best first date. Okay, so tell me, what was your best first date? You can write me a response in the chat box. All right, Soleil, if you meet someone on social and you hang out with him or her, is it a blind date? I would count that as a blind date because you don't actually know the person. You've never met them in real life. So I would count that as a blind date. Oh, Tony, my blind date was absolutely terrible. Terrible. The worst date I've ever been on in my life. All right. Hi, Yun. Nope, I dislike it. I prefer to see the person in real life first. That's a great point. That's a great point. I agree with you. But sometimes you have to try. You got to take a leap of faith, so to speak. So we're going to move on to our next question. Do you go Dutch on dates? Now, this varies from country to country and person to person, but typically I prefer to go Dutch on dates. Now, does anyone know what that means? To go Dutch. It doesn't mean I change my passport. But what does it mean? Does anyone know? Okay. So to go Dutch on a date means to split the check. Okay. So if I go on a date with someone, I would pay half the bill and he would pay half the bill. This is something, at least in America, that is catching on frequently as people want to be equal and not put all of the responsibility on one person. But it's also, I think, a way of being considerate, even when you're in a long-term relationship. You guys split the bill. I know in Italy, it's a little different from what I've heard, so. Okay, good. Soleil, the best date was when we drank, and spent time talking. Okay? So this would be an active sentence in the past, so we would want to use the ing form for the verb to talk, okay? All right, you guys, so we're gonna move on to the next sentence. I'll tell you, I have been dating the same person for almost 4 years. And I think from the very beginning, we've always gone Dutch, and even now. And I think it helps because we both work very hard. All right, so we're going to move on to question number 4. And this is a hard question. Hopefully none of you have done this, but if you have, I want to hear why. But have you ever stood someone up? Have you ever stood someone up? Okay, so to stand someone up means they went to meet you for your date and you did not show up. So Tony was telling us yesterday he got stood up by his online date. But again, Tony, maybe she had bad Wi-Fi. Maybe. I like to think on the positive side. Okay, good. Soleil, also you prefer to split the bill. Okay, I think it's nice. Personally, I don't know. Okay, so I can tell you I have never stood someone up before in my life, nor have I been stood up, fortunately. Okay. All right, so our next question, what is your dream date? So hopefully you guys can all respond to this one. Let me see. Soleil, Yoon, Masha, Tony, Valentina, Eliza. I want to hear about your dream dates, okay? So write me a little message and tell me, what would your perfect date be like? Now, I'm a bit of a, I don't know, an unusual person. My perfect date, if I had to plan my perfect date, I like to do, I don't know, non-date activities. So I think my perfect date would probably be playing laser tag or paintballing, because I think that's fun. Or maybe a trip to the mountains where we got to go rock climbing. I think that would be really exciting. So my perfect date would be something adventurous. Okay. Good. Okay, Soleil, you prefer to say as soon as possible if you can't go. I think that's polite. If you can't make it to a date, you should at least tell them. But if anybody has ever stood someone up before, I want you to write me and tell me why. I have a few friends who have done it, so I can see when it might be necessary. But I want to know your reasonings behind it. So we're going to go on to the next page, and we're going... Hello, welcome. All right, so we're going to be reading a little document about the history of dating. So give me one moment while I switch my share screens. Okay, should be this one. And you guys should be able to see this now. Good, perfect. It worked. So dating has changed very quickly in recent years. Before the late 90s, if you had a crush on a girl, you had to search through the town in hopes of physically finding her, or wait until school. If you had her number, you could gather your courage and phone her family's house, but you'd have to get through her family just to talk to her. Today, teens exchange emoticon-filled messages on mobile phones and social networks. Online users post flattering photos, which probably conceal their major flaws, on their profile and flirt with other users on the site. Speed dating has also become more commonplace. The ultra-efficient events are arranged to give bachelors and bachelorettes the opportunity to meet as many eligible singles as possible within a specific time. These events can be massive in countries like China, where a nationally imbalanced ratio of men to women has intensified the pressure to get married by the right age. More traditional approaches, such as posting personal ads in newspapers' classified section, are still around as well. So I'm going to leave this up for a minute so you guys can read along as well. I'm going to take a look at some of your comments. So Valentina, a dream date is when I plan a relaxing day after harder work. Okay, all right. But usually a date should be with another person, right? Hypothetically. So my date, I'd love to go rock climbing. If my boyfriend said, hey, get in the car, let's go rock climbing, I think I would be pretty happy. That would be a good date. And obviously there would have to be food involved before or after the rock climbing. Then it'd be perfect. All right, so you guys, we're going to take a look at this resource one more time, and we're going to go over some of the words that are underlined. So let me make this bigger. Perfect. Okay, so our first underlined word is crush. Now, crush has a few different meanings, but when we talk about having a crush on someone, it means when we like them, but maybe we don't tell them. Okay, so if you can think about when you were younger and you had a crush on someone and you didn't want to tell them, okay, it's kind of like that. So let's take a look at the next words. We have gather your courage. What do you guys think it means to gather your courage? Okay, we would also say to build up your courage. It means to take courage from all the places you can inside you and to finally do whatever it is you want to do. Okay, so in this sense, to gather up the courage to phone her family's house, it has to be super nerve-wracking to call somebody's house and to talk to their whole family just to speak to them. All right. Oh, good. We have some posts coming in. My perfect date. Ah, okay. So a surprise date. That would be a really cool idea. So somebody shows up and you go on a date, but you weren't aware of it. Hopefully they can plan around your schedule too. All right, so let's go on to the next word. We have flattering photos. Now, if something is flattering meaning it's making you look good. So in this sense, flattering photos that make you look nice. But you could also say a flattering outfit, a flattering dress, okay? A flattering hairstyle as well. So a way of doing something that makes you look good. Okay, which brings us to our next one. Flattering photos which probably conceal their major flaws. So major flaws would obviously be the things that we want to cover in our photos. Okay, so for example, sometimes with my curly hair, I have some very unflattering hair. So I would want to conceal that in some way. All right, we're going to stop with the word flirt. So when we flirt with someone, what does that mean? Do you guys know? What does it mean to flirt with someone? So who knows? Who can write to me? What does it mean to flirt with someone? Now, I am a terrible flirt. It's not a talent for me, but some people are very good at it. So when you flirt with somebody, you are letting them know that you like them in a subtle way. Hopefully subtle. It should be subtle. All right, you guys. So we're going to answer 3 questions now about the article that we've just read. I'm going to go back to our original share screen. 1 second, please. And here we go. All right. So I want to know, how has dating changed in the last 20 years according to the article that we've just read? How has dating changed? Can anybody remember? Exactly. Okay, good job. Okay, good. All right, you guys, really good responses. So when you try to start a conversation, not a normal conversation. Yes, of course. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about how dating has changed in the past 20 years. So nowadays, great point here, Anarita. So nowadays, people send text messages on social network, which when I was a kid was absolutely impossible. When I was a kid, we had to, and by kid, I mean in high school, we had to send notes. And I mean, we would actually write a letter, fold it up teeny tiny, and then we would throw it across the room. Okay. We would also have to call a person on their house phone. We didn't all have cell phones 20 years ago. None of us had cell phones, actually. So we would call our house phones, and I would have to ask somebody's mother or father if I could speak to them, and vice versa. So I have a lot of siblings. If anyone ever called the house for me, they would have to talk to all of my siblings or my mother before I would be allowed to take the phone call. And then I would have to talk in front of my whole family to speak to the person who called. Exactly. Okay, so dating has changed using web formats, web platforms, we would say, like Facebook. Okay. Great job, you guys. So let's go on to our next question. And what is the dating etiquette in your country? What is the dating etiquette? So we talked about how in America, it's becoming more normal to go Dutch on the bill. It's becoming more normal to go Dutch. But what is the dating etiquette in Italy? I'll give you guys about a minute to send in your responses. But I want to have a little bit of information. What are the rules to dating in Italy? So in America, we also have a very important piece of information. I think it's also a rule in the UK. And I've heard that in Italy, it's not common. But when you start seeing someone, when you start hanging out with someone, after a few months of hanging out together, we have to have a talk. We have to have a conversation to say, I'm only going to see you. Would you like to be my boyfriend or girlfriend? It's a little strange because you spend a few months getting to know someone before making that decision. So we call it the dating period. So before you become an actual couple, you're just dating. So as you guys send in your answers, we're going to go on to the next one. And this is a good question. So, what is chivalry and is it dead? I hope it's not dead. But what is chivalry? Does anybody know? So for example, when someone opens a door for you or pulls out your chair or picks you up for a date, these would all be acts of chivalry as far as dating is concerned. So is it dead? Do people still do these things? Do people still open the doors for you or pull out your chair when you go to sit down or bring you flowers? Girls still really like flowers, just so you know. Okay. So Anarita, what do you mean by the current dating situation is fluent? Fluent. Chivalry is being gentle, is being kind, but it's, we'd say, a little bit old-fashioned. For example, the only person who still pulls out my chair would be my grandfather, and he's an angel. When we walk down the street, he also always walks on the side closest to the cars so that I'm safe. He's very old-fashioned, though. I love my grandpa. Okay, in Italy, you have no rules. Well, that can't be possible. Every country has rules. For example, what I've heard from most Italian women, at least in Rome and in Naples, is on the first date especially, the men should pay. So I think this would be a rule that I have heard about. And my boyfriend is Italian. And when I tried to have the conversation, that's what we call it, the conversation with him, he thought I was crazy. He said that in Italy, you don't really have a conversation because if you're spending time with someone for that long, it's pretty obvious. So I was surprised by this. When you date someone and he opens the car door for you, yes, exactly. I prefer some rules. Okay, good job, Valentina. All right, you guys, people start to know each other with no rules and then, okay, and then after some time, of course. I think it's always better to start things as friends without the pressure of so many rules. So we're gonna go on to the fun part now, and I'm gonna say it's a little corny. When I say corny, I mean it's a little stereotypical and kind of funny and in a strange way. We're going to start talking about icebreakers. So how do we start talking to people that we want to talk to when we want to flirt with them? How do we start the initial conversation? Okay. Now, in order to talk to a person you don't know and that you've never met, obviously, you have to have a way to enter into conversation naturally. So, when dating, icebreakers are a great way to start a conversation with a new person. We're going to practice starting conversations using the icebreakers below. So, for example, if I've just met you, Valentina, you're at a bar, I would walk up to you and say, hey, if you could be any animal, which would it be? Now, again, I think these sentences are pretty silly, but that's kind of the point. You get their attention. So I want to know, if you could be any animal, which would you be? I'd be a panda. That's my thing. I'd want to be a panda. All right, so let's go on to the second icebreaker so you guys can answer them together. And I want to know, if you had £1 million or $1 million, what would you buy first? So send me your responses, okay? So let me think here. For me, it's gentle. Remember, we wouldn't use gentle, Valentina, but we'd say kind. It's kind or gentlemanly. Okay, so for me, it's kind when someone starts conversation with nice messages, calling me, inviting me to romantic dinners, and dating some weekends, okay? On some weekends. Good. I agree. I also like when people are just a little bit shy. This way, it doesn't seem like they know all of these icebreakers from the start. Okay, so going back to our questions, remember, if you could be any animal, which would you be? I told you I would be a panda bear because I think they're adorable and cute and fluffy. And if I had $1 million, what would I buy first? It's almost impossible for me to decide. I think I would probably just take a really good vacation, or maybe I would buy a boat. Yes, I think I would buy a boat. That way, you know, you can travel and have a place to sleep. So what would you guys buy first? You would be a dolphin. I love that. Very good animals, very trustworthy. Okay, what would you buy though? A house by the sea. That's what you would buy if you had £1 million. That makes sense. All right, you guys. Valentina, what about you? What would you guys buy? Okay, Tony, I'm not sure I understand your message. I want to be a little koala. I love it. I love it. Okay. All right, Tony, are these your pickup lines? Are these your icebreakers? Nice day, eh? I think that would work though. It's at least a decent opening. All right, you guys, we're going to go on to our next slide. And we're going to start talking about personality descriptions. Now, while we're talking about personality descriptions, we're going to start with our adjective and we're going to try and find a synonym and then an antonym. So hopefully the lag won't be so bad with our chat. But we're going to start with outgoing. Now, if you can think of a synonym or an antonym for outgoing, I want you to send me a message, okay? Hopefully the chat will pick up speed. Oh, Valentina, you want to be a panda too. Okay. All right, so outgoing. What could be a synonym for outgoing? Friendly. Okay, sure. And closed, good. So friendly, bubbly, okay, and shy or closed off, okay? So if somebody is outgoing and they have a bubbly personality, I kind of always picture them like a glass of champagne. All of the bubbles are coming up and they're very happy people, okay? Let's go on to the next one. And we have happy. So for here, happy, what would be a good synonym for happy? Joyful. Someone who is happy is also joyful. Okay, and an antonym of happy and joyful. Oh, well done. What is an antonym for miserable? Miserable. Blue would be a good one too, because it means that you're sad. Okay, I'm feeling blue. Good job, you guys. So the antonym, the complete opposite of being happy, is being completely miserable. Let's go on to our next adjective, adventurous. What is a synonym for adventurous? What do you guys think? Synonym for adventurous. We have bold. Someone who is adventurous is also bold. And an antonym, can we think of one? Timid. Now, timid is also another way of saying shy, which is weird. Okay. Reckless. Not reckless. Reckless would be an antonym for cautious. So someone who is cautious is the opposite of someone who is reckless. Okay, going on to our next adjective, brave. So I like to think I'm brave, but in reality, I'm not very brave. So what could be a synonym for brave? Courageous. So someone who is brave can also be described as courageous. Okay, great job. Yashal, I hope I'm saying that correct. You are really, really doing a wonderful job. So The antonym of brave and courageous, fearful. Okay. Cowardly, fearful. I think both of those are excellent, excellent antonyms. Great job, Valentina. So next we have calm. Calm. So if somebody is calm, how else could we describe them? Tedious. That makes more sense. Okay. Thank you, Masha. So someone who is calm could also be described as quiet. Quiet. Hey, I got it. Quiet. Okay. What is an antonym for quiet? What is the opposite of quiet? Excitable. Okay, so someone who is calm is the opposite of someone who is excitable. All right, you guys, coming down to the end. Funny. What could be a synonym for funny? Okay, quiet, loud. You guys are good. Okay, well, that would be not a synonym. Boring wouldn't be a synonym, but that would be maybe our antonym. Okay, so someone who is funny is also witty. Not to be witty, we think of somebody with a quick sense of humor, with a good sense of humor. Okay, and the opposite of funny and witty, I would also say boring, but would be somebody who is serious. Okay, now, last one, you guys. Not nasty, not nasty. Nasty would be a completely different word. Let's take a look at ambitious. So someone who is ambitious can also be described as motivated. What is the opposite or the antonym of motivated or ambitious? Okay. Disheartened, disheartened. Okay. All right, you guys. So we're going to go on to the next page just so we can keep up with our timing. So we're going to start talking about common interests and our hobbies. Now, hobbies are an important conversation topic while you're dating and can give you a strong indication of how compatible you are with the other person. So, when you meet someone new, whether online or in person, some common questions we might ask would be, what is your favorite hobby? So I want to know, what is your favorite hobby? I'll give you guys a few minutes to type in your responses. So what is your favorite hobby? Now, I like to say my favorite hobby is painting, but if we're being completely honest, I can't even remember the last time I had time to paint. So yes, a hobby is something you do in your leisure time, in your free time, okay? So what is something that you do in your free time? What is something you enjoy doing? I think I need to find a new hobby because I don't have any right now. I have no current hobbies. I like listening to music and reading. Perfect. Okay. Tony, good one. Very good one. So my favorite hobby is following my English school webinars. A perfect answer. So where are my ladies? Ladies, what are your favorite hobbies? All right. Well, while you guys respond, we're going to move on to our next question. What is your least favorite hobby? Now, if I have a favorite hobby, it's something I really like to do. So the opposite of my favorite thing would be the worst thing, the thing I hate doing. So my least favorite hobby. I like making a video and then installing. Okay, I'm not quite sure I understand what you mean, Masha. Could you explain it to me a little bit more? Valentina, my favorite hobby, so remember HOBBY, is listening to music or having sport interests. Okay. Okay, so we wouldn't say having sport interests, but we might want to say following sports. So if we're not participating in sports, we might be interested in following sports. So I could say my least favorite hobby. My least favorite hobby is cleaning. My least favorite hobby is cleaning. All right. Oh, well, Tony, have a wonderful night. Thank you for coming. Happy Friday. And you have a fantastic weekend too. Thank you so much. Bye, Tony. Okay, I like running, and actually I used to do that fairly often. Running is good for you. You have to learn to breathe while you run. After that, it's fine. Okay, you guys, really good sentences. Hi, Monica, welcome. My favorite hobby is swimming. You know, I like swimming, but I'm not very good at it. I feel like I would be a terrible competitive swimmer. All right, you guys. So we're going to go on to our next page, and it's going to be our final activity as we only have 8 minutes left of our webinar today. I want you guys to help me write a dating profile. We're going to do something kind of fun, right? So you need to write a dating profile, like the example, for one of the teachers or consultants in the school. Now, obviously, I am your teacher for today, so your dating profile should be for me, or you can make it for yourself, okay? But I want you guys to help me. So if you are writing a dating profile, you should obviously list your name, how old you are you male or female, and what are some of your interests. So let's take a look here. I want you guys to help me create a dating profile, either for myself or for you. I'm going to give you a few minutes, and then we are going to wrap up our class, okay? So remember to include name, age, male or female, or sex as we would call it, and hobbies. Okay. Okay. So you were right, Masha. So it wouldn't be to install it, but it would be to upload it. Okay. So to make a video and then upload it onto the internet or onto your computer. Really cool. I'm terrible with electronics, so I could never do that. So remember, you guys are currently creating a dating profile for either myself or for yourself. Okay, whichever is more fun for you. Okay. So as you guys are starting to send in your responses, we're going to do a little bit of review on the vocabulary that we've gone over so far, because we've had a lot of really good dating vocabulary. So let's start here. We've had a blind date. So a date that you go on with a person whom you've never met before. We have a first date, obviously. Okay, hi, Stefania. All right, so a first date. Obviously, that's a very a very easy one. So the first date that you have with someone, the first time that you meet someone and you share an experience. To go Dutch means to split the bill or the check. Okay? So I pay half and you pay half. We went Dutch. So to stand someone up. To stand someone up. To arrange a date and then not show up. Okay, so you guys, we have a few responses coming in. Hi, Stefania. Okay, so my name is Stefania. I'm 25. I'm a female. I love doing lots of things like listening to music, going out with friends, reading, and reading. Okay, don't forget your conjunctions. I'm a very faithful person. Wonderful. That sounds like a good profile. So I'm Monica. I'm an engineer. I'm a specialist. Okay. All right, good. Okay, so Monica, just real quick, I'm a little confused. So you're an engineer, perfect, but I'm specialist to check dresses. Are you trying to say that your hobby would be to try on dresses or to buy dresses, raw materials, embroidery, organize the orders? I found new opportunities. Okay, so I want you to try and look at your sentence structure because I'm not quite sure as to what you're trying to say. Okay, Monica? All right, you guys. Well, as we are wrapping up our class, I just want to say thank you for coming. I had a really good time being your teacher, and I hope you guys are all having a spectacular Friday night. Okay, so we're not just done yet. We still have a few more minutes, but just so I can say it before you all leave. So hopefully, even on Friday nights where we're quarantined, you guys have something fun planned out. Or maybe, I don't know, virtual drinking games. It's Friday. Call your friends. All right, you guys. So I'm going to wrap up our class for today. It was really nice. Happy Friday. And I'll see you again next time. Goodbye, goodbye. Happy weekend. Okay, Monica, about your job, not about your hobby. Now it makes sense. Now it makes sense. So I check. So I'm a specialist. I check. I'm Valentina. I'm 22 years old. I like meeting funny and friendly people when I study and spend my free time. Have a nice weekend. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Wonderful, wonderful. Have a good night.